All right, last focus twice. Second focus. Are you ready? It's like it's like first breakfast, but it's second breakfast.
I like second breakfast. That's good.
I love second breakfast. Here we go. Another perennial question, right? We asked about the passwords thing. That comes up all the time. But the other thing that comes up all the time, especially over in Linux land, you don't really have much of a question in Windows because they're shipping with one. And Mac does have one underneath. You don't really see it, but it does work. So the question is, do you need an antivirus on Linux? You have the careful netizens that say no, just don't click on those shady looking things and you'll never have to worry. But then you have the cautious netizens that'll say, well, yeah, because you never know. Some of those websites are getting real tricky these days. And when you click on something, all of a sudden JavaScript, boom, you got it. The thing that you were trying to avoid, you got it. Well, which is it? Do you need one or don't you? Dan, what do you think?
I think it depends.
Oh, okay. So you're in the, of course you're in the middle. Of course you're in the middle. What does it depend on?
Well, so I do think it depends on the use. I think it depends on what you're like. So, okay, so you're sharing some files potentially with some other people. You might want to be careful there. You might want to be scanning some of those, and you might not want to redistribute.
You trust my FLAC files and my video files just unequivocally. You're just like, Leo would never send me a virus. Ever. I'm just going to double click on this thing right now.
Yeah, well, and it might not affect my Linux machine, but if I'm sharing stuff with somebody that's got a Windows machine or a Mac maybe, and I'm serving up those files to other people, they might get that whammied. So I might want to scan those so that I don't redistribute that stuff.
More and more, though, we're seeing that there are more and more Linux Trojans. There are more and more Linux creepy crawlies.
Yep, that's true.
Does that move the needle for you in either direction?
I feel like there's other ways to kind of watch out for some of that stuff, and hopefully you don't get them. I don't know, but I don't know is that antivirus malware stuff is necessarily a bad thing. At least as long as it's not impacting performance.
You're the kind of guy that turns off the meltdown and spectrum mitigations, huh?
I mean, a lot of those probably not gonna happen on my machine, right?
I love that. That is my favorite because, I kind of gave you a hard time a second ago, but I'm the same exact way. I am in the middle as well. I don't have a hard yes or no. I do think that if you are overly cautious, if you, especially dealing with sharing files, and I don't even add the caveat of to Windows or to Mac. Yeah. I think just in general, if you're sharing files that you are not positive of the origin of, like the what I was saying about my audio files and my video files, if I'm sharing those to Dan, I would be offended. If you scanned those, Dan, I'd be offended. But
sure you would.
But if I'm downloading executable files and then giving them to Dan, I would be offended if he didn't scan them through. Throw it in Virus Total, man. Just make sure that I'm not shipping you a Trojan or something like that. Yeah. But for those folks that are ever cautious and just need something. You need a little technical aptitude. You can't be afraid of the command line if you want it to run like you would expect an antivirus to run, but this is Linux user space, man. We're going to offer you the free and open source one.
Yeah.
And the free and open source one is ClamAV. Born in 2002 at version 0.10 and authored by Thomas Kjom. Originally, it was going to be called Turtle AV, but Clam's not that slow, so ClamAV it was. SourceFire acquired it in 2007. Then Cisco acquired SourceFire in 2013. And the SourceFire Vulnerability Research Team, or SourceFire VRT, became Cisco Talos one of the most respected research teams out there today. So, headed up by Cisco, one of the premier enterprise network solutions hardware vendors, you kind of got to give them a little credit for that.
Mhm.
They are massive.
That is big.
And the price tag, kind of says as much. But
Yeah.
but you got to respect them for what they do. And Cisco Talos is, these are a group of folks that are figuring out the 0 days as they happen, same as Google Project Zero. I had like 2 other names in my head, and I can't remember them right now.
The Palo Alto, what is it, Unit 42 or something like that, right?
You saved me. So ClamAV, it has kind of a mixed history as far as how good it is. Back in 2011, it was picking up about 80% of whatever was thrown at it. At the end of last year, Splunk is a company that does monitoring, like and like digesting that, so that you can figure out what all that means, right?
Yeah.
Like data is fine, but making sense of the data is more fine.
Yeah.
And that's what Splunk does. They did a test of ClamAV and found out it does about 60% of the threats thrown at it, but some of the largest grouping of malware that most people find because they're downloading email attachments and running them, ClamAV captures about 90% of Trojans.
Wow, that's a lot. That's good.
On the whole, ClamAV is actually a very good antivirus for a lot of the threats that you're going to be encountering on a day-to-day. But ClamAV actually had its 20th birthday back in May of 2022. So, happy birthday, ClamAV.
Yeah, happy birthday.
It's going to celebrate 21 in a couple of months, so cool. Clam is a little memory hungry. So if you're on one of those systems, you got like 4 gigs of RAM, and then Firefox, just opening Firefox is stressing your system, you know what? Just practice good netizenship. Don't be downloading random stuff unless you know exactly who it's from and exactly what it is. No email attachments. Honestly, no email attachments all the time is really just good advice.
Don't go opening those unless you really, really, really know and we're expecting it.
FedEx doesn't actually have a package for you, dude.
No.
They don't.
If they did, they drop it off.
Don't click on the PDF because it's not a PDF, man. And if it is a PDF, it's got Trojan in it. Don't click it. Just don't. But anyway, Clam does like to use up a lot of memory, anywhere between 1 and 3 gigs. It's got to load up the definition. It's got to load up the files that it's scanning. It's got to do a lot of brute forcing against those files. So, be aware that if you're running ClamAV on a schedule or whatever, make sure it's during a time when you're not being memory intensive, right? When you don't have 3 Vivaldi windows open with 30 tabs each, so that you have to use their newly added feature. What was the name of that feature?
I don't know, but it's funny that you mentioned this, Leo, because I recently ran my endless machine out of memory because I was trying to do too much, and it just
loaded up all of Wikipedia, didn't you?
I don't know what I did. I had a bunch of chat things going and browser windows, and it was like, oops, out of memory.
Got him.
And I was like,
got him.
All right, I guess I'm restarting now.
All right, so that machine probably not a good candidate for ClamAV during use. You likely when you close everything down, go to sleep for the night, leave the thing awake, and it'll do a scan overnight. Whatever. That's
not when I'm running it. Nope.
Right. Yeah. ClamAV at 5 p.m. Not so much.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing
it. Wasn't good.
So I mentioned at the top that you want ClamAV to kind of behave like Windows Defender or Nod 32, or I don't know. I'm really hesitant to say the name of like any antivirus because they've all shown themselves to be not amazing.
They've all had their moments, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So anyway, commercial antivirus offering, you want Clam to work that way. So you can do that. You can do on-access scanning, which is you double-click on a PDF and Clam scans it in the background before it loads it up.
Right.
Or you cat a file in the command line, and Clam will scan that before it drops that out into your terminal or whatever. So it uses a kernel API called FA Notify, and it'll monitor whatever directories you configure. You've got to configure them yourself, and this is what I meant about you got to be okay with being in the terminal, little term foo, and if you're okay with that though. Configuring that up, it's really not that difficult. I'll have a link in the show notes. It's about 4 commands, and you do have to edit a couple lines in a configuration file. But at that point, Clam behaves exactly as you would expect. If it finds something, it sticks it in a little quarantine, and if you decide that it's worth it to you to go investigate, you can do that. Otherwise, the file's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
You can test it with the old normal ACAR, whatever that is, the little test virus thing.
Yeah.
You can check it out with that and see how it behaves. But yeah, I mean, I guess to the answer of do you need one? Use an ad blocker.
Yeah.
Practice good netizenship, like not downloading rando things and believing that you have a FedEx package on your way when you know you don't have a FedEx package on the way. And you're not giving Nigerian princes money.
Yep.
Like those kinds of things, I think are going to be pretty good. But seriously, the ad blocker, probably the most important.
Blocker, Leo. Content blocker. That's what,
content blocker.
That's what we're calling them these days.
Use a content blocker. uBlock Origin specifically. If you're on Firefox, it's so good. It's so good. I think you'd be okay without one, but if you fall on, and you have a lot of RAM, if you fall on the side of a cautious netizen, then ClamAV is a solid choice.
Yeah,
and you can make it behave like anything else out there.